Great progress over the first half of the year. Pretty excited about where we are today. Revenues increased roughly from the first half of last year, about $100,000 to about $1.1 million US dollars as we gained additional commercialization traction with our pulmonary functional xenon MRI system.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Chris von Jako. He is the CEO of Polarion Imaging. And Chris, it's good to see you. How are you?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, excited. The company's sent out some interim results today, and obviously they're showing some really key financial highlights. Just from your take, tell me, big picture, what you're seeing in those interim results.
Yeah, so I think great progress over the first half of the year. Pretty excited about where we are today. Revenues increased roughly from the first half of last year, about $100,000 to about $1.1 million US dollars as we gained additional commercialization traction with our pulmonary functional xenon MRI system. So pretty excited about that. We are also keeping close eye as normal on controlling our costs. So during that period, we reduced expenses from about 7.7 million US dollars last year to about 4.6 million. And as you know, we also raised roughly about 10 million pounds or about 12.6 million US dollars gross proceeds from the fundraise, which we did earlier in the year. And that's really allowed us to kind of step up our commercialization, operations.
Yeah. The one thing when you have a product is, and especially when you're trying to get people to come on board to use the product, is it has to be a benefit to them. And for clinicians and the technology that you have, it really seems like it's a nice marriage of really taking the next step in their work.
Yeah, for sure. I think that our technology is really giving clinicians really what they need and what they didn't have before. There's really, our technology has two specific things that I would say that wasn't in the field before. First, they could better see lung function as well as better quantify a patient's lung function using an MRI scanner. And if you're at all familiar with MRI scanners, you would know that they make incredible images of the body and are extremely safe, but it's rare to use MRI for the lungs before Polarion. And that's mainly because MRI scans are traditionally used and designed to image water content in the body, and the lungs are composed of roughly about 90% air, so that's why you couldn't do it. And again, just comparing current, standard of care, that technology was invented back in the 1800s, if you can believe that. But now clinicians can really see the lung function as well as quantify it with our technology.
Yeah. Obviously, the financial part of the results is important, but also there's some pretty key operational highlights as well that the company had. Can you sort of talk about some of the key things that people should have been aware of what you were doing?
Yeah, certainly. So during the period, we received an order for a new site, which we call internally as a de novo order. That was from the University of Alabama at Birmingham. It's a top-tier academic medical center in the Southeast. In addition, we received a trade-out order for a research hyperpolarizer system from our longtime collaborator, Cincinnati Children's. So with that new hyperpolarizer system, which we actually installed already in their research center, it allows them greater flexibility as they can also perform clinical commercial cases as well. And so today, with that and a couple of new things that we upgraded just recently, we now have a total of 21 sites that have either been installed or ordered systems. And I would say another thing I want to point out is that with the fundraise, it really allowed us to expand our commercial team. So, in fact, yesterday we announced a new hire, Dr. Alan Huang, as our new VP of Sales. And so effectively, we now have 5 dedicated salespeople to really accelerate our commercial efforts. We also hired in the period Dr. Chase Hall as our Chief Medical Advisor to liaise with pulmonary clinicians and identify further use cases for our technology. And finally, outside the period, but nonetheless extremely important, at the end of July, we submitted a supplement to the FDA to broaden our label technology and increase our addressable market by lowering the minimum age from 12 to 6. And then when that's completed with the FDA, this will allow us to expand our addressable market by about 1 million children dealing with chronic lung disease.
Yeah. So, Chris, with those type of moves that you've made during that quarter, that's really obviously going to have an effect going forward for the company. And I know that you're working hard on the full year results. So, you're expecting to see some good things moving forward.
Yeah, certainly. Today we announced that we actually increased our revenue guidance for the full year. The bottom end of that range, we moved it from 2 to 2.5 million, sort of narrowing the margin, resulting in a range of 2.5 million to 3 for 2024. And it really reflects the hard work of the team, and I'm delighted to see a commercialization picking up. In general, going forward, we'll continue to focus on our 5 Pillars strategy, which we laid out early in the year, which is really driving the clinical utilization, expanding our user base, enhancing the reimbursement coverage and payment, and expanding the total addressable market, and continuing to develop key industry partnerships. So with that, we also expect to install some of the new hyperpolarizer systems in the second half, while working hard to secure additional ones. And I would say finally, we're planning to conduct a virtual investor day, so investors get a deep dive or a deeper dive, I would say, into the technology and our commercialization strategy. And we're planning to do that sometime in October. And
Mhm.
I guess I would say stay tuned for further details on that. We'll announce that in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. They say a full MRI in the company, so to speak. So there you have it.
There you go. Exactly.
Exactly. Chris, thanks so much. Great to talk to you. And we look forward to our next conversation. Okay.
Okay. Thanks so much, Steve. Have a great day.
You as well. There's Dr. Chris Ivanyaco. He is the CEO of Polarian Imaging.